The comparison is that homozygous refers to having two identical alleles for a gene, while heterozygous refers to having two different alleles for the same gene. In terms of genotype, homozygous individuals have either both capital BB or both small bb, whereas heterozygous individuals have one capital B and one small b. Homozygous conditions can be of two types: homozygous dominant, where both alleles are dominant, and homozygous recessive, where both alleles are recessive. Heterozygous does not have subtypes, as it always involves one dominant and one recessive allele. For trait expression, homozygous individuals can show either the dominant or the recessive trait depending on their alleles. In heterozygous individuals, the dominant trait is always expressed because it masks the recessive allele. When it comes to allele passing, homozygous individuals produce only one type of allele in the gametes, while heterozygous individuals can produce two different types of alleles. In terms of breeding, homozygous individuals are often described as pure breeding, whereas heterozygous individuals are often referred to as carriers if they contain a recessive allele. This comparison can be explained clearly with simple examples from human traits. A homozygous dominant genotype, such as both capital BB, has two identical dominant alleles. Since both alleles are dominant, the dominant trait is expressed in the phenotype. A heterozygous genotype, such as one capital B and one small b, has two different alleles, one dominant and one recessive. In this case, only the dominant allele is expressed, so the phenotype still shows the dominant trait. A homozygous recessive genotype, such as both small bb, has two identical recessive alleles. Because no dominant allele is present, the recessive trait is expressed in the phenotype. These ideas can be seen in everyday human characteristics, such as in eye color. For eye color, people may have brown, blue, or green eyes. Brown eyes are usually dominant, while blue or green eyes appear when recessive alleles are present. For hair type, people may have straight, wavy, or curly hair. A dominant allele can determine the visible hair type. For skin color, variation depends on the amount of melanin in the skin. This trait is influenced by both genes and environmental factors such as sunlight. For height, people may be short, average, or tall. Height is controlled by many genes and is also affected by nutrition and health. For blood group, individuals fall into clear categories such as A, B, AB, or O, and may be Rh positive or negative. These are examples of traits controlled mainly by genes. The key idea is that heterozygous individuals express the dominant phenotype, while recessive phenotypes only appear when an individual is homozygous recessive. Overall, the genotype determines the phenotype, although environmental factors can also influence how a trait is expressed. Overall, alleles and patterns of inheritance can be understood in a simple way. Alleles are different forms of the same gene that control a particular trait. Each individual has two alleles for every gene, one inherited from each parent. Alleles can be either dominant or recessive. A dominant allele is expressed even if only one copy is present and it masks the effect of a recessive allele. A recessive allele is only expressed when both alleles are recessive. The genotype refers to the genetic combination of alleles, such as both capital BB, one capital B and one small b, or both small bb. The phenotype is the observable characteristic, which is influenced by both the genotype and environmental factors. Homozygous means having two identical alleles, either both capital BB or both small bb. Heterozygous means having two different alleles, such as one capital B and one small b. In heterozygous individuals, the dominant allele is expressed, while the recessive allele remains hidden but can still be passed on to the next generation. So, alleles determine the genotype, and the genotype influences the phenotype.